The Makers in Minnesota dinner series at the Lexington have been a blast. Imagine being in the beautiful setting of the Lexington in St. Paul, in the gorgeous Williamsburg room with the stained glass windows, the leather banquettes, accompanied by 75 other people, just like you. They're all there to experience a great dinner made by Chef Antonio with wine pairings featuring products made right here in Minnesota. Our November dinner is Tuesday, November 30th, and tickets are $98. We have 4 featured makers at this dinner, including cheese from Redhead Creamery, the delicious nuts of the north from Isidore Nut Company, beautiful spirits from Beet Gray Distilling in Duluth, and mushrooms from R&R Cultivation, who are farming 11 different types of mushrooms right here in Minnesota. We'll have Makers in Minnesota holiday boxes filled with my favorite products for sale, including Isidore's chai nut mix, which I'm just crazy about. I'm so excited to see how Chef Antonio will use all of these ingredients in his multi-course menu. We'll have a limited number of tickets for this special dinner, and we have sold out the last 2 dinners, so go to thelexmn.com and sign up via Eventbrite for the 3rd Makers in Minnesota dinner at the Lexington. Go to thelexingtonmn.com and get your tickets now and join me and some fabulous makers who will tell you about their products and share their maker stories while treating you to Chef Antonio's gorgeous creations using their products. Buy tickets now at thelexmn.com. Hi, this is Stephanie Hansen, and you're listening to the Makers in Minnesota podcast. During this podcast, we talk to cool people doing cool things, and mushroom growing is pretty cool for lots of reasons. No, I'm not talking about those mushrooms, though. For some people, that's pretty cool too. I'm talking about cultivated mushrooms that you eat for enjoyment, that you eat for your gourmet cooking, that you eat for your everyday. I feel like people are either in one of 2 camps on mushrooms, like either crazy about them or they're not necessarily for them. So I'm going to talk with Nick Robinson today. He's from R&R Cultivation, and they are taking, honestly, the Minnesota mushroom world by storm, him and his partner, Lance Ramm. Nick, is there 2 mushroom camps? Like you're either into it or you're like, oh, they taste like dirt.
Exactly it. I think it's a lot of preconceived notions from people eating like canned agaricus button mushrooms, right? When they're growing up. So just being like, yeah, you know what? They're rubbery. They taste like chewing on an eraser, or they just have like no taste at all. They're slimy. And that's what we've been combating here in the Twin Cities. That's why starting out inside of farmers markets, we're able to kind of explain to people, no, this is different. This is how you should cook these mushrooms.
Okay. So I need to know your trajectory, because all of a sudden I just noticed one day all these mushrooms in Kowalski's. And I was like, oh, look at all these cool mushrooms. And then I noticed them at Lunds. And then I feel like you're just everywhere. And there's so many mushrooms. And I'm not like a massive foodie person, but I'm a big eater and I eat out a lot. And there were mushrooms I'd never even heard of. So I'm curious how you guys went from farmers market to stores.
Out of necessity. So the business model that we started out with was farmers markets. So we were going to local farmers markets, selling there, spreading mushroom love. And then we said, well, the next logical step is restaurants. And then COVID hit. And then we just kind of said, wow, okay, well, one, we need to have, because as we grew and scaled, coming out of your basement is a huge leap for any grower. There's a lot of people growing really high quality products within their home or in their backyard. Once you have overhead, once you have expenses, once you have people that are relying on you for a job, you need to be able to provide consistent revenue year round. And so we just kind of looked towards the wholesale machine. We just pivoted really, really hard into grocery once COVID hit. Because that was what was open. And it just forced us to go down a really painful path at the beginning, but turned into something that really paid off for us in the end.
I feel like mushrooms were kind of undiscovered country, because there were the white mushrooms sliced or whole, and then it got fancy and there were the baby bellas. And then that was really it. So how receptive were the grocers to bringing all these different types of mushrooms onto the shelves?
Well, so Very receptive is probably the best answer. So showing our success inside of farmers markets was a huge sell point for them. But really, it took in like with Lunds Byerlys, for instance, they brought us on, and they told us they had a category. Mushrooms as a category in most grocery has been stagnant. It just really hasn't grown because, like you said, it's just kind of like, oh, cool, I'll add in mushrooms if I want. Here's whites, browns, and ports. Like, that's what we got. But coming in, the director of produce at Lunds Byerlys told me, one that I've increased the sales inside of their mushroom department by 300% since last year. But he said not only that, but I've made mushrooms sexy again. which he's like, it's a professional saying, in the industry, but just makes me laugh every time.
I believe it because
we made it fun again,
Well, and I believe that because I'm buying your mushrooms, and I'm not just buying like what's in my recipe. Like, I'm buying like, oh, maybe I should try these, maybe I should try those. I'm pushing myself to figure out how to cook these different types of mushrooms because it's just fun to see different creations, and different mushrooms have different textures. And so, yeah, I can totally see that would happen. Is the biggest barrier to get people to try a different kind and to teach them what to do with it?
Yeah, a little bit. So it's, I think once you get the mushroom fever, you kind of want to start trying a whole bunch of them, because each one of our mushrooms has a different taste and texture, just everything. It goes great in different meals. So once you kind of catch the mushroom bug, we grow 12 different species on our farm, and that's very difficult. When you talk to most mushroom farms, they really try and focus on one, maybe two species, because just growing one or two species there's so many variables that go into it. But we do that for the reason exactly like we're talking about here. It keeps people interested, engaged, and wanting to try new mushrooms and new recipes. On the label of every single, packaged mushroom, we tried to put all of like, hey, if I didn't know anything about this mushroom, what do I need to know to kind of know whether to use it in a dish or not? And then we use mushrooms like shiitakes and oysters as our gateway mushrooms, we call them, because that gets people out of the button realm and more into the more nutritious, more tasty mushrooms.
How do you farm mushrooms? Do you literally have like a farm as in like out in pasture, or do you have like a production facility with plastic PVC pipes? And
that's more option B. So we're inside of a building. So we basically rent out warehouse space, and then we build these grow rooms inside of this warehouse space. And each room has to be temperature, humidity, CO2 controlled, light controlled. So luckily, mushrooms are easier to grow inside. Everyone thinks they grow in the dark. They do not grow in the dark. You have to have lights on. They're phototropic, so they grow towards light, but they don't photosynthesize light. So you never want to have them in direct sunlight, but they do need a light source to grow too. But yeah, it's just a series of painfully learned lessons of what systems to put in place and how to control them. But yeah, once you have it up and going, it's pretty fun.
How did you get the fever of mushrooms?
I have like the least interesting CEO story, I guess, if you will. But really, it came from, so Lance, 3 years ago, almost to date, actually, came to me and just said, hey, he was working on another venture at the time, and said, hey, what do you take a look at mushrooms? I had just gone back to school, gotten my MBA, and I was like, I want to start up something that just does good for the community, makes me happy, lets me work with good people, right? Like, let's just start down that path and see what happens. And local food systems fulfilled that need for me. And so I started out buying blocks and fruiting them in my basement in a little 3-foot by 3-foot tent. And once I saw how to grow them, tasted them, because I wasn't even a huge fan of mushrooms when I first started this thing, I was like, this could be a really good business venture. And then it just kept going and going. And now, of course, I'm a mushroom lover. But yeah, it started very simply.
How did you and Lance meet?
So we met like 10 plus years, 10 almost, oh God, probably like 12 years ago now. So we met through mutual friends. My then girlfriend, now wife, was a part of her friend circle, and we just met at a Halloween outing, and we just hit it off, and we're just like, man, we are just like two peas from different pods here. But yeah, we just said, we just want to do something together at some point. And then this opportunity came up, and he had finished his endeavor and was like, I think I'm ready to engage in this now after about a year in. Yeah.
So here it is. So is one of you like the creative and one of you is like the business mind?
Yeah, right. So Lance is definitely more the idea person, and I definitely help in bringing those ideas to life. So, since I'm really good with systems. I have a sales and marketing background.
Clearly.
So I've done sales for most of my life.
Clearly, that was my next question. Who's the salesperson? Because
I'm the salesperson.
You're good at it.
Sure. Oh, thank you.
Just the amount of coverage that you've gotten in stores in such a short period of time. And also the consistency and the quality of the product, the branding, the packaging. Like, you guys are on a home run here. Thank you.
That means a lot. Yeah, it's been a lot of different iterations and everything to get there. But yeah, it's he's the right hand man. Everything goes through Lance and I. We just bounce ideas and catch things where we need to be. You have a business partner. It's like being married, right? Like you're
100%.
You're raising this baby together, and it's good to have someone. You have to have, just like any marriage, you have to have good communication and strong and different yet complementary skill sets for each other. So
when you go to the farm, you go to some warehouse, and how many employees do you guys have now?
Now we have over 20 employees, which is crazy. So
that is crazy, because you only started in what, like 2016?
No, we started in 2019.
Okay, 19. I thought it was 16.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so we started in probably like August of 2018, but really didn't get up and off the ground until 2019.
So in a very short time, couple of years, you've amassed 20 employees. Just that alone is challenging to manage, to create systems, to create opportunities, to create job descriptions, like who's going to do what. Right. You must be burning it like at all hours of the night right now.
It's gotten a lot better. So before, when I was first doing this building, it was, I had a full-time job during the first year of this. And so it was, my wife was pregnant as well with our little guy who just turned 2. So he's growing right along with this business. So yeah, it's really, really tough. The best thing that I probably got from my MBA was just leadership and understanding, the more I understand about leadership, the more everything I learned from being a parent has more to do with leadership than anything else that I've learned. Really, really learning to serve your employees, to create a place where they're okay coming in and trading in their time for that paycheck. We also start everyone else. So from day one, I just said, I want to start everybody at $15 an hour. And if the business fails, the business fails. If I can't make it work, then it's not worth building off of. So we've just had these things from day one that have just been extra roadblocks in the way. But I'm very proud of the company that we've built. It definitely kind of embodies, who we are as individuals and how we want to contribute back to the community that we're in.
Can you tell me about your worst day?
Just one, or this could take up the rest of the podcast. No, there's been multiple days. There are so many variables when it comes to mushroom farming, and putting in strong processes and procedures is how I've combated it. But anything from, entire crops of blocks just contaminating, rooms experiencing, blotch, not having correct growing conditions, controlling the amount of heat in the summertime, not properly sizing my systems. And so those systems fail and I lose an entire crop. It's just, it's been an ever expanding ladder with greasy rungs that I've had to climb up.
Oh, I like that description. So tell me about your best day.
Best days have been where local partners have believed in us enough to put us on the shelves. So like Lunds Byerlys, they were our first real major individual, grocery chain that we didn't have a lot. And they said, hey, we're going to grow with you. We believe in you. We believe in what you're doing. They dropped their mushroom partner of 30 plus years and just really dove into us as a brand. And, that relationship was forged by knocking on a door. I had no ins. This was every relationship that I've had has just been going out there, meeting face to face, getting people to know me, understand what we stand for, and then following through. So landing those really big key accounts, we just got into all the high Vs in the Twin Cities. That was just a fantastic day. The co-ops locally have shown us so much support. Eastside Lake Winds, Mississippi Market, just a slew of Valley Natural Foods. The list goes on and on. But yeah, every time you find someone who really believes in your brand enough to give you business, and then in turn you're able to provide them with really exceptional experiences and high quality products, like that's just cool. So
I love it. Well, I asked you to partner with us on the Makers of Minnesota dinner in November. We
yes.
have had a September dinner. Our October dinner is coming up when we record this. And we were looking for November makers. We wanted to find people that were unique and different. And as soon as I brought up your mushrooms, Chef Antonio was like, yes, mushrooms. I want those mushrooms. And we already had 3 partners at that point. What I can tell you is that we added another space to bring your mushrooms in because he was so excited about cooking with them.
So cool.
Yeah. And we've had these dinners where, 70 people came to the first one. I think we have up to 90 coming for the second one.
Wow.
And people just are so loving hearing the stories about local Minnesota entrepreneurs, how people got started. It's going to be really fun to have you be a part of that. What is the biggest barrier to selling mushrooms? Is it like expanding the category or knowledge or education?
I think going back to what you said before, I don't know if I properly answered that question, but you really do get people who are like, I effing love mushrooms or I effing hate mushrooms. Like there is no middle ground in between there. It's been the people who love mushrooms. Those are our people, obviously. So that's always a percent of people that walk into a room. So really it's getting people. So you have people who are already in the category. They're already loving everything that we're putting out because they love mushrooms. And then you have people that like mushrooms but don't love them. So like, hey, yeah, no, I love like agaricus mushrooms, or when they think of mushrooms, they only think of buttons. And then there's the process of converting those people into the gourmets. That's like another tier. And then you have people that just haven't even heard of them and trying to get into them for the first time or had a really bad experience. And that's why farmers markets are so powerful. I think we kind of let off the gas pedal a little bit on farmers markets. We're going to go full bore for next year, just because we have so many partners around the Twin Cities. Farmers markets are a way to just to really sell the product and to get people to see it and understand them and to try them on a very small level. But yeah, it's not, once they try them and they cook them properly, they come back every single week.
And that's really smart research and development, because most people use farmers markets as their first shot out of the door. And they're using them to figure out who their target market is, talk directly to the customers. But then many of those people, once they get into larger productions, kind of abandon that route. And I totally have always seen that as a marketing opportunity more than anything else. So sales are great, but you're there to market your product and to get in front of new consumers and to encourage them to shop at grocery for your products. So good for you for seeing that, because a lot of times I run a market and ours is a specialty market at Stone Arch Festival, but people are like, oh, the market cost me $350. I broke even. I don't know, my time. I'm like, but wait a second. Like, where do you go from here with this product that, if it's something that isn't something people buy every day, like a jelly, a jam, a sauce, or whatever, you have to create a demand for it. You have to experience what people want from you. You have to show them how to use it. Without doing sampling in a lot of grocery stores because of COVID, you can get into a Hy-Vee. You can do it, but then you have to spend time selling those 100 managers. You have to find a way to make the product move inside the store. It's always marketing.
Yes. And so that's why, so a lot of people will come at me and be like, well, you don't want to share what you know because it's proprietary. And, I'm like, man, if somebody can walk through my grow room, see my setup and replicate it and do it better than me, I don't deserve to be in the industry, right? One part is knowing how to grow mushrooms, but a whole nother part is knowing how to actually run a business. A separate part would be actually selling the product. And I think most people find themselves in one of the categories where I knew nothing about growing mushrooms. I taught myself from the ground up, but I had a good business running and sales and marketing background. So I could drive sales and I could run a business. So then I got into the mushroom thing. But yeah, we actually started up an NPO called the R&R Cultivator. It's very underdeveloped right now, but it has two main parts to it. One is an education piece. We really do want to get into, my wife is an educator. I worked in education for many years, but having a component that actually pushes into the classroom, mushrooms can be grown inside of classrooms. We have grow kits. It's super interactive and fun to learn that way. And the second part of it is helping other local growers who may be really good at growing, but don't understand the business or the sales part of it. We do direct store distribution all around the Twin Cities. And so we help other local businesses with their direct deliveries. So we use our delivery route that we're going on anyway, charge an extremely low fee just to cover our costs, and then we deliver for them. So on top of that, but showing a business how to be, how much you have to sell to be cash flow positive. Most businesses or most growers don't understand their numbers, which is why they just tend to just keep running forward, but maybe they're running in a wrong direction, So something I'm very passionate about is helping other local growers who are, sustainably minded, who pay their people well, who, run a good business to help them get up and going.
So who might be an example of that? So if someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, oh, I have a broth company, who might be a good person to connect with you to help you or help them with distribution? Maybe they're doing it themselves. They're running to all these stores.
Yeah. So just have them reach out to me, and you can put my email address in there for anybody who's interested. So the whole purpose of this is not so that I can take a cut of the profits of everything they're selling. It's really to empower growers to be as engaged or disengaged as they want to be. If they want to use our distribution system until they have enough money to save up and deliver on their own, great. If they want to use us, in perpetuity, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody can reach out to me who has a product that they're looking to get on the shelf. And if they want to make a business out of it, if you want to stay in your home and have it be kind of a low key thing, I'm still happy to talk to you. But, we really want to get in businesses that are looking to feed the masses, and that are local, focused on organic practices and clean outputs, sustainably minded and responsible. Like those are the people that I'm looking to invest time into to help their businesses grow.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to meet you in person in November so we can eat mushrooms together at the Lex.
Yes.
If you're looking for tickets, they're at thelexmn.com, and I'll put a link in the show notes. We'll go from there. Thanks, Nick, for joining us, and thanks for bringing better mushrooms to my grocery stores. I'm so happy.
Thanks for the support.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it so much.
We'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay.